Good morning. This is the Great Basin Fire potential briefing for Friday, June 26th. We've had thousands of lightning strikes in recent days, and that is going to be followed by very strong winds, in some cases gusting to 40, 50, even 60 miles an hour in some areas, accompanied by low humidity in central and eastern areas today and into the weekend. Sharply cooler today up north in Idaho, Wyoming, and also in far northwest Nevada. That cool down will spread south region-wide this weekend. So a big change in the weather, but overall fire danger is very high. Many areas in the 90 to 97th percentiles, but significant moistening of those fuels starting even today up in northern Idaho and other areas, and that cooling and moistening will spread a bit further south, but some areas in the south staying dry. Impact map, a lot going on. Strong cold front where the blue meets the orange. Sharply cooler up north and more moist, but the winds and drier weather continues across central and especially southern and eastern areas. That area in the brown is where wind gusts can be over 50 miles an hour with low humidity. We'll continue with the scattered showers and thunderstorms. A little bit wetter in this batch up here in the west and north. Still some isolated, drier strikes in eastern areas, but really over the last couple of days, the damage has been done with the lightning. A lot of strikes and a wider area of cooler, showery weather moving east and gradually southwards. But tomorrow, still another very dangerous day, especially areas here in the brown where those gusts could exceed 50 miles an hour with low humidity. That front does push further south, but still far eastern areas continue to be in that very dry, windy zone. And looking on the right on the lightning, this is what I was talking about. Just a ton of strikes in the last 24 hours. If we did a 72-hour map, we'd see it overspreading much of the area, and that's going to get hit with wind. There was some light to locally moderate precipitation, but probably a third of these, if not a little bit more, were on the drier side. Over the past 7 days, there's been some moistening in some areas because we've had several days of lightning, but you see how dry some of our eastern areas are. And a pretty moderate IA. New fire starts in the red, recent fires in the yellow. These open purple circles are indicating either type 3 or CIMT fires. PL3 currently right now, and we'll see how that goes. Our 10-hour fuels taking a bit of a nosedive, a sharp one up in the north. You can see how critically dry still in southern and eastern areas. The ERCs, you can see in most of them 90th to 97th percentile. Where you see the oranges and the reds, they are trending downwards in the north. We'll see these change significantly in time. And looking at a tale of two cities, looking up north, up in the Payette National Forest, you can see where they currently are on the ERC charts. They're somewhere 90th, probably 95th percentile, but they will drop rapidly in the next 3 days to well below the 50th. But looking down south, Arizona Strip, far southern Utah, they are above the 97th percentile, and they may bounce down to the 90th a little bit as minimum humidity goes from like 8% to 18%, and then those ERCs continue rising back up to the 97th percentile. So really a tale of two cities in our northern and southern areas. Larger scale weather pattern, a strong cold front associated with this unusually deep low pressure area up north. That's why we have these very tight height lines, and when we get these in during the longest days of late June, you get a big thermal contrast. So this dry wedge of air up here is where the strongest winds will be. And also concerned about strong winds downsloping off the Sierra as well, your typical zephyr winds, coming with some cooler, higher humidity, but the downslope does add to the drying. This low continues pushing southwards and expands and pulls in some moisture over the weekend in northern and even central areas, but it keeps that dry, windy air mass down in the south, so we have our high risk accordingly. A deeper dive shows the winds, and those who view these briefings regularly know that orange tends to indicate around a critical 30-mile-an-hour gusts. When we start seeing the purples and then the dark purples and the browns, those are gusts in the 40s and 50s. And you can see the sharp line where we have the cold front. Look at the winds, look at the relative humidity coming in. You can see where that combination is. That critical area slides a bit further southwards. We do have some higher winds further back in Nevada. There's a fine line between the very dry humidity and where the humidity does come up. And even on Sunday in our far eastern and southeastern areas, still critically dry with strong winds in those areas. Big temperature contrast, a 20 to 30 degree cool down in many areas in central and southern areas. That cool down's already begun up in Idaho and even in parts of western Nevada, but that'll spread further south and east. Precipitation, again, isolated drier lightning in southeast Utah. Some wetter precipitation moving to the north. You can see some of those darker greens and blues Saturday and Sunday in parts of Idaho and Wyoming and northern Nevada. It could get quite a bit of precipitation over the next couple of days. And then that low, we continue to see the influence of low pressure lifting out on Monday, but then another low dropping down Tuesday and Wednesday. So really, we see below normal temperatures continuing through the middle of next week. The fuels will be moistening quite a bit, but we maintain that moderate risk in our southern and central areas as the air mass stays fairly dry, and we stay moderately breezy. In some areas, we see the humidity where it's really dry and dryness pokes northwards, and where that dryness is slower to come by. Precip wanes a little bit Monday and Tuesday. If we look at the 5-day total precipitation, you can see a lot of areas up here in from far northern Nevada, but especially much of Idaho and Wyoming, seeing anywhere from 3/4 of an inch to maybe an inch and a half of precipitation with duration. So that's going to significantly impact conditions. And so the summing things up of the high risk, you see today and tomorrow, maximum high risk, very dangerous situation. Those winds slide eastwards on Sunday, and then we quiet down a little bit as we go into early next week. On the extended outlook, cooler than normal temperatures, but we stay dry, so our central and southern areas won't be too far from critical levels of monsoon, nowhere to be found. This concludes our briefing. Have a great day.